Some of you have aging dogs in your life, now or in the past. Some of you have aging relatives needing care. I'd like you to think about some interesting parallels between aging dogs and aging humans. I'd also like to help you explore some simple but potent pack tools to better interact with our elderly adults needing care. Now, my aging relatives don't like being compared to old dogs, well, except maybe my Uncle Don, and he's always been my favorite. First, let's talk about what the parallels are between old dogs and elderly humans. Here's 4 you might recognize. Both old dogs and elder humans make conscious choices to move less and do less. When they do move, things hurt, and they're stiff, and their movements and reactions are slower. Another is their circadian rhythm gets flipped, so they sleep most of the day and they're awake all night. How many times have you heard your old dog or maybe a relative padding around at night? I caught my mother moving furniture one night at 2 a.m., which was a bit unnerving. They also become picky eaters and they eat less as their systems slow down, so we should try to think ahead about what their favorite foods are. My old dog Louie loved chicken and smelly goat cheese and ate that up till his last day. And last but not least, change. Change is a big one. Changes such as moving things in your house, in their house, or relocations can rock their worlds and increase stress and decline dramatically. Some of these household changes are unfortunately unavoidable, but when we can, we should try to keep things as close to their normal as possible. As their organs, body, and mind gradually slow down, their world gets smaller. The world is now opening up, however, to this idea of learning from our old dogs to help our geriatric humans. Recently, a University of Washington professor asked me about my work with animals and the book I'm writing on the parallels of old dog and human aging called The Tao of Old Dogs. He shared with me a project that University of Washington and Texas A&M are collaborating on called the Dog Aging Project, or DAP. DAP will study 10,000 dogs across the U.S. to identify the environmental, biological, and lifestyle factors that contribute to healthy aging and then cross-pollinate that into the human geriatric world. This study is actually funded by the NIH, the National Institute of Health, to directly benefit geriatric humans. The premise being that dogs, in living so closely with humans for centuries, acquire the same big 4 age-related diseases as us: cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and even dementia. It takes a much shorter time to study dogs as they age than humans, so DAP can gather data and study the same lifestyle and disease aspects in 10 years of a dog's life versus 50 years of a human's life. I was so excited to see this dog-human aging connection being recognized and studied on a grander scale and validating this commonality that I've been observing in my practice for many years with animals and their humans. What I've also seen in my work is that many people can find deep compassion and patience for their aging dogs, but not always for their aging humans. With our mother or father, we can be trapped in this weird time warp of role reversal that can be hard to understand and very hard to navigate. Our emotions run amok, creating frustration, fear, grief, detachment, apathy, sadness, all common and perfectly normal. I think those of us who have dogs feel these same emotions for our old dogs, but somehow we are a whole lot kinder about dealing with their needs and wants. Why is that? What if we could have a choice in how we interact in these relationships with our aging human relatives needing care? What if we could cross-pollinate our feelings we have for our old dogs to reframe our ways of feeling and being with our aging senior relatives? For our old dogs, we can find patience, acceptance, compassion, and kindness more easily. Yeah, our agendas and emotions trip us up at first, and we try to push our little old dogs past their limits, but we eventually settle into a place where we find peace in their aging process. A place where every moment we have with them is precious, no matter if there's incontinence, lack of energy, frustration over food, grumpiness, sleepless, noisy nights for both of us, we find that patience, acceptance, compassion, and kindness to be the loving caretakers that we all have inside here. Recently, I was working on a little 6-pound Yorkie named Lilypad with a sore back, and in what seems to be a common conversation with my clients, I asked Lilypad's mom, Mary Lou, how she was doing with her mother who had dementia. She profoundly and lovingly said, "We must meet them where they are at any given moment. We can't change who they are. We can only change ourselves and how we think about the situation. Dementia patients are like animals and children. They feel the world around them. They are honest and in the moment, and also very aware and present with what we are feeling while we're with them." That is a potent mouthful of wisdom for us all. The most difficult parallel to discuss is dementia. Statistics show that there are 50 million people worldwide that have dementia. This number will almost double every 20 years, reaching 75 million in 2030. Due to the fact that there are no official geriatric studies on this yet for dogs, we don't know any numbers, but we absolutely know it exists for them too. My mother had dementia. Every day I would take her out for a walk in her wheelchair, and I came to realize if I went the same way each day, she was emotionally more comfortable. She was not a woman of the outdoors, nor did she appreciate nature. Yet, if I kept things consistent, she had forgotten she didn't like the outdoors and clearly enjoyed the fresh air and sunshine she so badly needed. As we'd slowly dawdle along, she would always point to the same bush in the same yard and say, "Darling, isn't that lovely? What is that?" Day after day, I gave the same answer. Next, we'd see a sweet blue birdhouse on a fence post, and she would say, "Look at that! Isn't that nice?" Each day I would agree. This repetition rattled me at first. At the time, I was easily rattled, as I was running a busy practice, nursing a very dear friend that was dying of cancer, visiting my mother daily, and my 15-year-old dog Cedar, who went everywhere with me every day, was starting down the path of doggy dementia. So I made a choice to rest in the consistency and familiarity of this daily walk routine that Mom had relaxed into, and in doing so, I made peace with myself. I began to call it Groundhog Day. I had to find the light, beauty, and a sad bit of whimsy in this change in my mother, and also in the irony that it was this comfortable repetition that filled her with contentment. I had to let go and erase my fear of losing my mother as I knew her and embrace that peace that came with Groundhog Day's repetition. I thought of how patiently I had walked the same trails, sidewalks, and roads with my dogs each day, seeing the same trees, houses, and meadows. I suddenly realized I had been following the Groundhog Day model since owning my first dog. Dogs need consistency and find comfort in familiar routines just as human dementia patients do. For dogs, every day is Groundhog Day. Wow, what a revelation. I could do this thing. So finally, here's the 4 potent pack life lessons my dogs and I created based on Dog and Life Training 101 that we can use in our interactions with our elderly 2-leggeds and 4-leggeds. I call these the pack. P is for patience, A is for acceptance, C is for compassion, and K is for kindness. P is for patience. Sit and stay. Picture the adorable wiggly puppy running around like crazy, and in 1 or 2 sessions and some yummy cookies, he learns the sit and stay request that may save his life someday. He is now transformed into this little patient being that is actively communicating with us. And of course, the cookies in our pocket. Can we transform our own inner puppy? Yes, even if we fake it at first, we can learn to adopt patience and kindness even when the world is buzzing and screaming and blurring around us. Usually, patience and calmness is what we humans learn to teach our dogs when we go to puppy obedience school. And if we're really lucky, what we learn too. It's the first thing your old dog does when you grab a cookie for him, right? Sit and stay. They never forget. Before I revisit with my mom in her dementia years, I'd sit in my car and I'd do a 30-second self-check to increase my patience with whatever I might encounter that day. Release the rushing the cases I saw today. Take a deep breath and let the buzzing vibrations fly out the window. Breathe into my heart, even the aching part. Now open my heart and breathe again and warm up a remembering smile for the love I have for my mother. Feel my feet on the ground, the strength in that love, and here we go. Occasionally a tear or two would fall, and for that moment I thank them for their healing and stride on in, arms and heart wide open. A is for acceptance, meet and greet. I don't know about you, but I love Labradors. They are always accepting of other dogs, good people, and change. They almost never are bullies in a group dog interaction, but are accepting and willing to play with others, small and large. They love play, they love life, and yet they have this amazing work ethic and willingness to please. They are incredible, tireless service dogs, fully accepting the consequences of most situations and never asking for anything in return other than a tennis ball, a hug, and dinner. In my next life, I'm hoping to come back as a Labrador. Acceptance allows us to move forward and not be stuck in emotions that don't serve us or others. As we become caretakers on any level for our elderly, even just occasional visits, we have to learn to accept our own emotions about their situations and, for the benefit of others, temporarily let go of our own emotions so we can be fully present in any situation. This is what our first responders do for us all the time. They accept any situation they're called to, and during that time of response or service, they are clear, solid, and willing to use their tools to help others through challenges. Just like a lab. If our dogs can do this, so can we. I had a yellow lab named Sage who, as a puppy, went to school with my teacher husband and by her own choice became a service dog for children with epileptic seizures, ADHD, and a reading with Rover dog before there was such a thing. She was amazing at knowing who needed what when. When she retired at 15, she was bored, so I took her to a nosework class. She had a growing tumor on her nose from a rattlesnake bite when she was 3, and her last service to the world was a nosework demo we did for the American Cancer Society. She did amazing, all dressed up in her pink gear, the crowd roared. She was a gentle teacher for others about finding some acceptance and joy during life with cancer. C is for compassion. Stop and smell your own roses. Everyone knows that dogs have an amazing sense of smell, and they know what we're thinking and feeling even before we do. As do our wise old elder humans with a whole lot of life behind them. Even in a dementia state, they are often aware of our feelings. The question here is, what are you carrying into your interactions with your beloved elders? Is it the sweet, rosy essence of compassion, or the thorny, pokey feeling of fear, angst, or apathy? We cannot bring compassion forward under stress without self-awareness. We have the power to choose to smell like a rose or poke like a thorn. Dogs and dementia patients feel our emotional vibrations and can teach us to be more aware of these by mirroring responses to us. We just have to pay attention. Have you ever felt angry with something and your dog drops its ears and gets flat and tries to look invisible? Did you ever feel some fear while walking your dog and have your love everyone labs suddenly start barking at someone? They don't get caught up in or hang on to emotions unless we do. Human dementia patients are the same way. They can feel our emotional vibrations and can respond by shutting down or lashing out. We need to ask ourselves, which emotion am I wearing and which emotion do I want to wear? K is for kindness, release and reward. We all need and want kindness, right? Our animals respond better and on a much deeper level when we utilize kindness instead of scolding. Our children do too. Our elderly relatives are the same way. No matter what challenge they give us, kindness will always be the best medicine for both them and you. Kindness echoes out into the world. The rewards go both ways when we release kindness into any situation. I know dogs and animals are our teachers and can help us navigate difficult challenges with life and our elderly seniors, and in doing so can help us heal too. They can guide us to be stronger, kinder people and remind us to make wiser choices during our interactions with our elderly and the world around us. So my hope is that you will be the patient, accepting, compassionate, and kind pack leader that can make the world a better place, one pack at a time.